Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ankeny with Auto Success Magazine. I appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. I'm pleased to say my guest is Brent Albrecht. He's from Friendemic. I've known Brent for some time now. Today we're going to have a presentation showing you how to utilize social media to get more business. But a couple things I'd like to mention before we get started is, one, if you're not familiar with Auto Success webinars on Facebook, please go there. Just type it into the search. You'll find it. It's a place to interact with the speakers and attendees and suggest future webinars. I mean, if somebody out there watching right now is doing something super exceptional, we'd love to put a spotlight on you and share your story. Also, if you notice on the bottom left of your screen, there's a chat function. If you have any questions during the webinar, please utilize that to ask the question, and then at the end, we'll address every question. And if you have questions afterwards, that's why we use Auto Success webinars. Brent, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Thanks, Brian.
Fantastic. Brent, take it away, my friend.
All right, Brian, appreciate it. Thanks. Well, again, as Brian said, my name is Brent. I'm the National Sales and Marketing Director at Friendemic here. So I appreciate you joining us today. And the topic is full funnel marketing. But before I jump into the topic at hand, I'll give you a little bit. This is what we'd expect you to take away from the topic. So at the very least, this will be help you develop how to develop a good social content strategy that's relevant to all the prospects in your local market. If you think about it, I'm sure if I surveyed the people in the room right now on how many people have purchased a car before, right? I would expect every hand to go up, right? So you're all car buyers, right? At the same time, how many of you are in the market for a car in the next 2 weeks? And when I've checked this before, I mean one, maybe two hands. That's a small percentage of the total group. And a lot of times in the dealer marketing that we do, right, it's focused on the zero moment of truth, hitting these people right when they're getting ready to make a purchase. And not that those people aren't very valuable. At the same time, that's those one or two hand raisers. And it's a very small portion of your overall audience. And for social media to be effective, we want it to appeal to the broadest audience possible. And so we're going to show you how to do that with a social content strategy. And then how to also use targeted social ads to supplement, right, to work with your social content in order to get to reach the most people. Because there's a lot of ways we can target people for each of the segments. Overall, we'll also show why full funnel marketing gives you what we think is better leads over the long term and why it gives you them at a lower cost. So you'll see how you can reach buyers at all the stages of the decision process and what I think is an optimal strategy for social marketing. So when we talk about full funnel marketing, right, this graph on the right here, or picture, this is exactly what we're talking about. Here's your sales funnel, and this is the standard 5 stages of the buying process that a consumer goes through, right, beginning with need recognition, all the way not just to purchase, but post-purchase evaluation. So we're going to show you examples today of specific content ideas and advertising ideas that you can do for each of these 5 segments. So I'll show you examples of what we've done and some of the results we've seen. Before we get into each of those examples, I'm going to hit exactly what we mean by full funnel marketing and give you some points on, again, why we think it's so important to reach prospects earlier in the funnel. So first of all, I mean, just to define what we mean by full funnel marketing. As I mentioned, I think a lot of times the focus is on hitting people at the last minute. The problem with doing that is, a lot of times people's preferences, opinions are shaped much earlier in the sales funnel than at that last moment when I go into Google and I type in, I'm looking for a 2015, Chevy Silverado, right? I mean, granted, I'm at the moment of purchase, but a lot of my decisions already been made. People are more impressionable higher up in the funnel. And so you have a better chance of branding them, better chance of making yourself top of mind and being one of the selections when you hit them earlier on. So we would see full funnel marketing as a comprehensive marketing strategy, right? That we're doing different content throughout the month to appeal to different groups, and my ads and my content are following the same strategy, that they both are trying to hit these groups. So why do we really care about reaching people earlier? So one very basic benefit is, I talk to a lot of dealers that ask the questions of, hey, what kind of content should we be posting on social media? And the easy answer is, Well, I mean, you got to do a mix of, some entertaining stuff, some educational content, some engaging content with a little bit of promotion. So, that's a good general answer, and believe a mix of content is important. At the same time, that doesn't really tell you, like, yeah, but what should I be posting, like, specifically, 30 days a month kind of thing. If I'm posting that often, I'm going to show you examples that more than would fill up a content calendar for the month, so that you can easily plan out what kind of content I should be doing. There's also this concept of creating demand versus capturing demand, okay? Capturing demand is, right, when you compete at the bottom of the funnel to capture demand, this is at last minute. A lot of times the only way to differentiate yourself is by price, right? And if you're going to differentiate yourself by price at the last minute, it's going to be who has the lowest price. And this is going to lead to lower margins on average, and we want higher margins. So when I start to differentiate my dealership earlier on by things like service and my reputation and our commitment to the community and all these other things, then I'm bringing them in where I don't have to compete on price at the last minute, and you should see better margins overall. Some of the other reasons are just sort of the nature of PPC advertising and how it works. Just like you want to reach those people at that last minute, right when they're ready to make a purchase, so do all your competitors. You're all going after that same audience at the same time. PPC is a big marketplace, right? The more people that are buying those specific keywords, the higher you pay per click, right? We're seeing Google AdWords campaigns where, $4 or $5 a click, sometimes even higher. That's because everybody wants those same keywords at the same time. If you can reach people earlier in the funnel, before the rest of your competition, not only is your message more memorable because you're hitting them first, your cost per click is going to be much lower. And then there's also the reality of, everybody advertising these people at the last minute. There's some message distortion going on, right? Everybody's like, we have the best prices, we have the best service. Everybody's saying the same thing at the same time. It affects your credibility, and it's a little less memorable. So let's get into some examples for each of these stages. And so for each of the next 5 stages, we actually broke out some ideas for blog content and social media content. When I say social content, we think like, posting on Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Blog content I've differentiated because it's a little longer content. We can do a little more in depth. But we think that's important to include that as well because of the SEO benefit and, again, the chance to tell a longer story. And then for social advertising, there's tons of options available on different ways you can target each people in these segments. And so we want to make sure the ads are most relevant, and so we'll show you how to match some of those up. So starting here with stage 1, which is need recognition, right? People recognize they have a problem, desire to solve it, and it could be something as obvious, right, as my car breaks down or I total it, now I need a new one. Or it can be lifestyle changes, right? I had a small sports car, and then I get married, and I have 2 kids. Now I need something larger. I'm going to turn into a minivan guy, right? You can target people by those lifestyle changes, and now your ads and your content are going to be more relevant because it's very specific to the stage of life I'm going to at that time. And then obviously you can be proactive about creating needs, right? You don't have to wait for cars to break down, but you can create that demand with your audience as well. So some examples for stage 1. On the social content side, this is where educational content works really well, right? I think the Edmunds post here is a good one. 11 best used cars for college students, right? We're gonna help create that demand. When I hadn't even thought, my kids graduating high school, I might not have given a thought for a car for college yet, right? We're gonna help create some of that demand. And this is good, easy group to target. I can target on Facebook adults with kids that are graduating from high school, right? So a very specific audience, let's send specific content. Some other examples, right? A lot, service, repair, replacement advice, trade-in apps where I might not have considered buying a new car yet until now I see what my trade-ins were. And I know you do direct marketing around this, right? Your trade-ins never been worth more. Ask us what your trade-ins were. Those kind of marketing tools that I've seen. Think about that same kind of thing with your content. And then in terms of creating needs, right? Photos and videos of new models, highlighting new features, new technology that can help create a desire to replace a vehicle when one might not exist. On the blog content side, same thing, right? Educational blog content's good. I like this kind of blog article here, right? Is it time to sell your old car or truck? Here's how to sell. Write a blog on, how much should I invest in a repair, versus trade it in and buy a new, right? And the blog gives you a chance to tease out this and educate people, with longer format to help create that demand, right? You're helping them make a smart decision. Same thing, if you want to talk about new technology in vehicles, sometimes it's hard to really explain some of those new functions in a social post. The blog will let you detail that more out. On the ad side, service specials, great time. If you run service offers, right, this gets people familiar with your dealership maybe before a need even exists. I want to get people, right, if I do, here's a good example, the Jim Hudson $29.95 oil change. In this case, right, let's get them familiar with our brand, get them loyal to us, get them that they like the dealership. Much better chance I'm going to be top of mind when the need comes around. So, I see service specials as a very proactive form of marketing. Some of the other ads we can do, if I don't want to do service specials to everybody, I could target them to very specific life events, right? Marriage, people graduating college, people that got a new job, who just moved. There's a lot of different ways that, instead of sending service specials to the world, I want to hit them to the people who I think are going to need a new car soon. This I thought was a good way, too, this idea of getting people before they even have a need is a Toyota Rent-A-Car program. In this case, right, not only are we getting them familiar with the dealership, but we're getting them to drive a Toyota where maybe they haven't driven a Toyota before. And examples in terms of results, $350 of ad spend, 1,800 clicks to the website, 1843 at 19 cents a click. Really low cost per click. And this is targeting a local audience of, owners of very specific brands in this dealer's market. And I didn't have conversion data on this one, but I know talking to the dealer, they saw a significant increase in the rentals from this ad program. So that's stage one, right? Stage two, now they have a need. Now they're trying to gather information to help make an intelligent decision about what to buy. Buyers gather information from a lot of third-party places, right? Back to, I think, like Edmunds or, right, other online articles, OEM content. And I would say while those are all great, let's focus on dealer content. There's an advantage for your dealer to be the local resource for this kind of information search, right? If I go to the Toyota site and I research information there, and then I can go and I can put in my zip code, I'm sure, find local Toyota dealers in my area, but it's going to show me choices, right? And then you have to be one of those choices. If you can get them to come to your website, right, or your social media pages and your blogs for local information, well, now then they don't have to go to a directory and see all their choices. They're just going to your site. There's an advantage to do that. Keep in mind that on the information search, some buyers need to buy a replacement car right away. Some have more time on their side. And so their needs are going to change. You should do some content to appeal to both of these groups, right? If I need to replace my car right away because of an accident or something, what can you do to make it easy for me, right? Focus on how easy and the speed of the purchase you have, right? We'll come haul it away. We'll give you a trade-in even though it's totaled. So, what can you do that's going to make it easier for them? For buyers that have more time on their side, you want to provide as much information as possible around alternatives so that they're using you as a resource, right? So using vehicle photos, multi-image posts are great. You can show more angles of the car. Vehicle videos. Video content does extremely well on social. I encourage you, if you're putting stuff on YouTube right now, don't just put it on YouTube and leave it there. Use that on Facebook, use it on Twitter, and get more mileage out of every video that you create. You could also be doing ads and content around inventory links, right? Let's promote the size of our inventory, the large selection. Get more traffic from Facebook to your website. Get more VDP views by promoting that, and talk about other incentives you have going on. Oh wow! Let's see, we lost our. Let's see if we can get that back. There we go. Sorry about that flash. Okay. So that was social content, and blog content. Similarly, again, we want to give them more information, but blogs are a good way to do compare competitive vehicles articles. Well, that's long to say. This can help grab prospects before they decided on a specific brand. So in this case, right, the Honda Accord versus the Toyota Camry blog, very specific audiences. But again, to promote this blog, I would promote it to people that own Hondas and people who own Toyotas. So now it's going to be very relevant to the people that see this. And then on the social ad side, things like value your trade features. We talked about, just like with your content, promote your large inventory, financing alternatives. Again, you could target vehicle owners with cars older than 4 to 5 years. So that way, you're hitting people in the market to buy. And again, so now your information search content is most relevant to them. Other ways you can do, again, to target people in certain segments at this stage. There is an example here with Sarah Toyota, right? A challenged credit ad. Again, targeting people to have either low credit or have a lot of like high credit cards or anything like that. So going after that specific audience where, in this case, the assumption is the information search is not so much about which car to buy, is can I afford to buy a car? And we saw, again, good results, 883 website clicks, little higher cost per click because of how targeted this audience was, but in this case, 67 conversions, right, at an average of about, a little under $10 a conversion. In this case, the conversions we tracked were they went through, clicked on this ad, and then on the website, they filled out a lead request form saying, like, yeah, please contact me about, easy credit for my vehicle. So, and then I know that again, percent of those converted to sales. So stage 3, right now, they've done all the research, right? They've gathered all this information. Now they have to start evaluating alternatives. And they're going to narrow down their choices. So, they're going to look at competitive products. They're going to start to ask friends, right? This is where I go on social media and post and say, would you get this, or do you own, right? Has anybody ever bought a Toyota Prius? Do you like it? They'll be doing that kind of searches, and you want to have content around to help differentiate your dealership as they make that decision. So now, right, social content, again, I know most of you are, I'm sure, promoting to get positive reviews on the review sites, on Google, Yelp, and sites where you need them. Promote some of those positive reviews on Facebook and Twitter, right? As people are looking like they've started selected a brand, but I haven't selected a dealer, your positive reviews are going to help differentiate you. Same with service awards, right? Any kind of awards or credibility you can talk about in the dealership that would help set you apart from other dealers of the same brand. Photos of happy customers. These get a lot of engagement on social, and again, help me see as a prospect that it's going to be a positive experience for the buying process. So, this is where a case where you can start to run more promotional posts. Right, here's this example of drive a brand new 2015 Toyota Camry for only $18,995. We had 22 likes, 4 comments on it, right, with a Shop Now button. In some cases early on where that audience, they don't care about product and price, now as I'm starting to evaluate alternatives, I'll engage with this more. And so it's okay to do that kind of promotional content. Other examples, here's an example again of what Toyota of Conroe, what they've done in terms of giving away new cars to the high school kind of thing, right? This helps if I haven't decided like which dealership to go to. The fact that this one supports my community and they're investing back in it, that could be a differentiator. It helps establish credibility. So good kind of local content to promote. And on the blog side, again, think longer content. We could talk more about awards for service excellence, or you could do a blog feature where once a week or once a month you introduce a new staff member. Have people get to know the face behind the dealership, because it's much easier to walk into a dealership when I know that I'm going to recognize people I've seen. Social ads, right? Now we can do things like conquest ads. So if I'm sitting here and I'm right in the middle of a Dodge Ram promotion, do I want to make sure that promotion's seen by by, Chevy truck owners and Ford truck owners? Yeah, I would think so. And I can target those specific audiences, with that content. So again, it's going to be relevant, but I want to steal these people away who are looking at alternative brands of similar vehicles. So, again, good examples here. We talked about, again, showing multi-image ads. Do well with getting good click-through rates. And in this case, you can show multiple versions, multiple photos of the vehicle from different angles, different styles, or even you can use different models here. And as Facebook runs these ads, they'll see which photo gets the highest click, and they'll start to show that photo first. So it has some ability to learn intelligently. One of the new things Facebook's introduced is that instead of just doing photos here, you can do multi-video ads, right? And I could have 3 different videos. And if you wanted to have one video that had a walk around of the car, one that showed, right, maybe what the dealership looks like and happy customers in the dealership, maybe one's a message from the GM welcoming you, right? Now you can see, you can almost tell a story with these kind of ads, again, to help set yourself apart. And again, this ad here, right, good website clicks, 51 cents a click, $19 a conversion, a little higher, a little different than what we saw in the other one, but still good conversion rate. And by conversions, again, we're tracking people that went and submitted information saying, I want to be contacted by the dealer. Or in this case, this was a dealer group, so they want to be contacted by one of the Honda dealers. So the final stage, or not the final stage, but the final part of this purchase process, right, is the purchase stage. And it can be disrupted along the way, right, that they're ready to make a decision. And there's a couple factors that could, that could change this. One is negative feedback from other customers. 2 is unanticipated information. Now sometimes it's things like, right, that, I lose my job, but now I can't afford to buy a car. And you can't control that. But other things are things you can very well control. And this is where it's really important, not thinking so much about just posting, but how to engage with your audience, right? And so you want to make sure you're monitoring your page, answering questions. If people post a comment on your Facebook page, if you're checking once a week and answering comments, I mean, there's a good chance that they've not only moved on, they've moved on and purchased somewhere else because they didn't hear back from you. So speed of response time on Facebook and Twitter is hugely critical, right? Sometimes the first person that responds is the one that's going to get that sale. So pay attention to all that content on your pages. In terms of blog content, list type blogs work well here, right? In terms of I'm ready to make a purchase and maybe I just want confirmation, or I want to make sure that I feel good about the choice of it. So things like here, 10 reasons why I should buy a Prius, right? To help solidify the choice of a model, or better yet, right, 5 reasons why Smith BMW is the #1 dealer in Chicagoland. So if I was wavering between 2 different BMW dealers, this kind of blog content can help, right, solidify that decision. Social ads promote specific vehicles with and without incentives. In some cases, we've seen ads with prices do better and get better click-through rates. In other cases, depending what the person's interested in, without pricing, they'll do better. And again, you can target your audience to match by demographics, by vehicle ownership, by lifestyle, all these things. On social content, instead of thinking about, again, what you could be posting, think about, this is the opportunity to engage with people. It's also a time you could steal consumers from your competitors. This example is a little fuzzy, so I apologize. But this is from Twitter. You can go to Twitter, do advanced search for certain keywords in a radius around your market. So here's an example, right? Teddy says, I'm going to go car shopping tomorrow, right? Car shopping was the keyword that we searched on. And in this case, right, then we're engaging with Teddy. Hey, that's great, right? Kelly Carr, CDJ has some great Jeeps, interested in seeing some. Yeah, I'll check it out in the morning. What's the best email to send deals to, right? Teddy sends his email over. So now we know that he's going to buy, and this isn't a posting strategy, but because we responded quickly, here's a chance to engage with Teddy, right? This gets passed on to the dealership to follow up with and help solidify that purchase before he goes car shopping tomorrow and stops at other dealerships. So again, watch for posts and reach out to people to get them to consider your dealership. As I mentioned, like again, different kind of ads. You can do ads with or without prices. Somebody will run multiple ads testing different photos, all targeted. In this case, I'm going to target Toyota owners or people that are interested in buying a Toyota, right? So my ads are going to be most relevant. In this case, getting them to the website, 1,337 website clicks at 30 cents a click. So we're getting like very targeted audiences sent to the website. You'll see here too, frequency of almost 5. That's okay. I want to make sure that as they're coming to a purchase decision, I want my ad in front of them, more than once. And so I would say anywhere a frequency of 3 to 5 is a good time, right? Repetition is important to make sure that they remember it. So the fifth stage is post-purchase evaluation. And sometimes this is the stage that gets ignored, right? That figure like, all right, hey, they made a purchase. Either I got the sale or I didn't. Let's move on to other people higher up in the funnel. But social media sites are really important as an extension of your customer service. And these are people where, they're going to affect when they write reviews. They're going to affect other people higher up in the funnel. You want to respond to their comments. You want to make sure you're doing social listening to see what's said about your dealership, because addressing these people is going to help you with other prospects down the line. So here's some good examples, I think, of social content around good customer service and keeping these people, keeping that relationship once you got it. Down at the bottom here, right, we just received a 5 out of 5 customer rating. You need to solicit and ask for these to get them. And that's good content to post. But even, I like the one on top here even better, right? We're here to listen. If you have a question about your car, ask a service tech, right? Let's show people that after the sale that you're still interested. You want to make sure they have a good experience, and don't just assume they all know that. So as part of this, it's really important to respond to reviews in a timely manner. Again, the longer a negative review sits out there with no response, it's that much longer that how many people have gone to Google, Yelp, or wherever, and they see that bad review, and they see there's no response. The assumption is a dealership doesn't care when you don't respond. So you want to respond to those. And we would recommend responding to positive reviews as well. I mean, somebody goes and promotes your dealership, like down below here, and gives you a 5 out of 5, that helps your business. Take a moment and say thank you to that person for helping give you a little bit of a plug. Other things is you want to make sure people really get the full value out of their car. And sometimes with new technology, that's not always obvious. So I think, good blog content articles here, how to care for your new vehicle, explain hard-to-use features, which here we have like Stay Calm with BMW Connected Drive, and it really walks them through how to use this feature, right? So that they didn't buy something they got no value. On the social advertising, back in stage 1, we said you should do service ads to get people familiar with your dealership. Well, back in stage 5, we're telling you to do service ads again. And now for a different reason, right? Now we have a relationship. I want to keep that. I don't want to lose touch with these people for 4 or 5 years and then have to try to, spend a lot of money to try to obtain them again. Right? Service specials are a great way to keep that relationship with them. So these are a very specific audience, and I have custom audience in parentheses here. I can hit customers as a target in Facebook. Sorry, I can't talk. And how that works, if you're not familiar with it, is if you upload a list of your customers with email or phones, Facebook will match those people to people on Facebook. You save it as a very custom audience, and then you can send a service special just to that audience. So now if you want to make it a really good offer because you know they've already bought a car from you, you don't have to worry about the whole world seeing it. Another good example, I think, of this post-purchase evaluation, very targeted content strategy is pushing your mobile app. I don't know how many dealers have mobile apps, but I know it's growing. This lets you communicate with your customers at a low cost as opposed to having to do direct mail to them and email marketing, which either can be ineffective or expensive. Facebook has a specific ad type that promotes app installs. So in this case, right, Mercedes-Benz at Easton ran a couple different ads here. to promote their app. And this was even, again, for a single month, $250, 52 app installs, so $5 per install. And if you think about it, that means like now for $5 per person, I can communicate them with, basically for free through my app, and instead of having to communicate with them through other ways. I can keep them engaged. I can communicate with them much easier than I can through other means. So that's taking you to the 5 stages. So, I'd hope you'd see that if I planned, throughout the month, and I said, like, all right, each day of the week, I will do 1 post to each of the 5 stages, well, then that's easily 5 posts a week right there, right? And I do that through the month. Now, instead of writing content that just appeals to this group, I'm creating content that appeals to this entire group. So it's going to be a much larger audience. Because it's a larger audience, I get more likes, I get more clicks, I get more shares, which means I get more viral impressions, right? And that's the whole, one of the whole benefits of social media is, getting your content to be relevant so it gets shared so you hit even more people. So as I said, I think the strategy will work for you, and it's a good way to blend an ad strategy and a content strategy together. So that's it, and at this point, we can open it up to questions.
Okay, Brent, I've got a question that came in here. Where do you find the ads like the Staycom with BMW, that connected drive?
Yep. That was actually a blog post for one of our clients. And so again, I think blog content, and again, sometimes we assume like, oh, you post it to a blog and then you just let it sit there. Blog content is good social content to promote, right? So you can take, write it as a blog, turn it into a social post, and then I can promote that through Facebook ads to drive traffic to the blog, right? If I'm going to go to the trouble of having people write blogs, let's invest just a little bit of money to make sure the blogs are seen. And we're funneling people from social to our website.
All right, I got another one for you. It says, how many days per week do you post for all 5 stages?
I would say if you did, I mean, and again, it depends on how much you want to invest in terms of resources. But if you did once a week for each stage, right, that's 5 posts a week right there, 20 posts a month. I think that's a good mix of content. I think certainly there's going to be times during the week where you're going to have other, like some promotional specials or some like local news and things like that you want to mix in. But I think once a week to each stage is plenty.
Okay, here's another question. Who, in-house or outsource, writes the blogs?
Well, when we do it for clients, we do it in-house. So I guess from that standpoint, I mean, if you're a dealership, if you have someone that has the time and some decent auto knowledge, I think they could go and write blogs in-house. But there's probably some services that'll just write, and I probably can't think of the names, but if someone wants to email me as a follow-up, I'll send you some links. There's a couple like editorial type sites that they'll write blog content for you fairly cheaply. I mean, like, let's say like $20-30 a blog, I think, or something like that. If you give them the topic, here's what I want it on, here's keywords I want to mention, they'll go create just a text version of a blog and send it to you. And then, of course, you can format it and post it. So, like I said, vendors like us will do it, but there's places that just specialize in blog writing only.
Cool. Actually, Stephanie that asked that question just said, thanks, I'll email follow-up with a smiley face.
Okay, good.
Here's another one. How frequently should you check each of the online review sites?
Well, I mean, I would use, because I mean it's not real efficient to have to go to Google, Yelp, Cars, and go to each of them every day. There's again a lot of different software options out there that'll monitor all the sites, and then they'll send you alerts as new reviews come in. One thing I'd check on any kind of review monitoring service is the speed. To me, like I want to know right away. So, hourly I think would be, your best bet to have something that checks every hour and sends you notifications as new reviews come in. At the very least, you ought to be checking every day though. But I would use a service versus going every single day. Now, that said, I know that I think like Google and Yelp, they'll send you notifications direct. More of the sites are getting to that, so that's kind of a cheaper alternative where you could say, like, I'll set up a notification in each one of the review sites, maybe create a rule in my my Outlook or email program to put them all in a folder, or, or something like that, so I can kind of organize and manage it. That's certainly an option too.
Okay. Actually, I've got another one here that's kind of on that same topic. Your personal opinion of outsourcing reputation management, specifically responding to reviews.
So I would say, outsourcing the respond, because I think you should respond to every review. And most dealers, what you're going to see is you're going to get a lot of positive reviews and a handful of negative reviews. The positive reviews, I mean, again, that's something like that's a service we offer as well as other vendors to respond to reviews. Normally what we do is we'll respond to positive reviews on our own because we can do that as long as whoever's doing it is not doing a copy and paste generic reply, that they make it personal. I think you can outsource that. I mean, you can have someone do it in internal too. I mean, I don't know, it's my business, it's my brand. I take the time to respond to reviews. Absolutely, for negative reviews, you need to be involved in responding. Now, it doesn't mean you don't use a service like a vendor or something to, hey, here's a heads up that again, you got this negative review. They might help you craft a response. There are strategies like right ways and wrong ways to respond to reviews, because you're not just responding to the person that wrote it. You're responding to everyone else that's going to read that review and that response. Your response affects SEO value of that review. So, there is some strategies in terms of responding, but, at the very least, you should be, really involved in responding to anything negative that's said about your business.
All right. Well, everyone, this is Brian Ankney again with Out of Success. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I also, if you have some time, go to Out of Success online, and on the little slide bar to the right, there's a link to take you to Out of Success Service. It's a brand new publication that we just had our first issue come out last month, and it's going to be a monthly publication that goes out covering all topics, fixed operations, everything in the back end of the store. Also want to remind you, if you haven't joined Out of Success webinars yet on Facebook, you need to do it. It's a great way to interact with the other attendees here. We're all learning new things and trying them out together, and we're trying to create a community where we can all ask questions of each other and offer advice. In addition, Brent, I really appreciate you taking the time today. That was a great presentation. If you have any additional questions, everybody here has my email address. If you need Brent's, it's on the screen right now, but if you think of something later and you didn't write it down, send me an email and I'll connect you. Brent, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate everyone's time, and, like I said, feel free to reach out, even if it's just questions or advice, or you want to do it in-house and you just want some tips. We're happy to give pointers on that as well. So I'm just happy to talk about some of these ideas if you're interested. So thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Go to Our Success webinars. You'll see when our next webinars are. Brent, I appreciate you coming. Everyone online, I appreciate you coming. And I can't wait to do it again. Have a great day. Good selling.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.